No dailies, these and more ahead on The Breakfast right here on Plus TV Africa. A very good morning to you. It's another day of interesting discussions right here on Plus TV Africa. We're glad to have you. My name is Kofi Bartels.
And I am Messia Bopo. It's a beautiful, very first day in the month of February. So it's okay to say Happy New Month and welcome to February. January actually finished very fast.
Oh, yes.
It could be the fastest.
It couldn't have finished faster than it did, Mercy. We were just waiting.
January
We were like, carry your hala
January.
go. Why is it always like that, though?
I really don't know, but you know that time is actually a human factor.
Yes, yes.
So it's just in the mind.
By the way, Happy New Month.
Same to you.
You know, and you're radiating, you're glowing. Amazing, amazing.
Okay, when you say glory,
Wow. Which stories have we been looking at? I mean, of course, Nigerians having conversations online, and what we try to do is to bring some of those conversations on the program. Yesterday, it was a day of intrigues, really, like a roller coaster day. I'm sure you followed the declarations on the different platforms.
Yes, I did.
Which one did you watch?
Well, so a couple of declarations. You also have the governor of Kano State, if I'm not mistaken, Aminu Tambuwal.
Yes, Sokoto State.
Sokoto State?
Yes.
Okay, Sokoto State.
Yes, indeed.
Who's actually made his declaration. I mean, that's because you have a lot of persons, declaring their intention to become president
Yes, indeed.
of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's quite interesting because, first of all, as a Nigerian, it's a constitutional right. Everyone has a right to contest. And, everyone has a right to vote and be voted for. That's how it's been stated in the Constitution.
Absolutely,
so it's okay.
Absolutely.
It just makes it more interesting. And
Absolutely.
people say that's the beauty of democracy.
Democracy, yes. I mean, for those of us in the media, we'll be doing this. We're rubbing our hands because it's what we live for. We want to see these things, the declarations. We want to see activity. Maybe a bit of a distraction from the negativity in the news these days, just to keep us distracted.
How does that really even keep you away from the negativity?
Because you have something new to talk about. Let's not underestimate the effect of the hardship. So you could play some blast music in a market in some other part of the country. People will just be walking by. But go to Lagos, go to maybe Oshodi or Balinde and blast that same music. People will just start dancing. So I think it's a welcome distraction from some of the negative news and the reports. And also, we in the media, we want to see these stories because we want to report, we want to interview the guests. But more importantly, Nigerians have been talking. Tambuwal made his declaration yesterday. His name has been one of those names that has been out there, for some time. I'm sure you'd agree. It's been somewhere around there. And of course, he's been very influential as the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum. And then the process that led to the emergence of Ayu as the chairman of the PDP in that Congress, you can see the governors had a big role to play. And Tambuwal seemed to be a uniting factor, bringing all the disagreeing sides together, even with the uncertainty that followed the Uche Seconda's episode, and then the role that Nyesom Wike played in all of that. And if you remember, some governors were siding with Uche Secondas. It was Tambuwal, as leader of the PDP's governors forum, who was able to bring all these sides together. And you can see each time they went for the PDP's governors forum meetings, they had that, if you remember, the press conferences with address, and Tambo was there. So all the disagreeing sides, all the governors who were going away, and we're not happy with Wike, this perception of those of us outside, and we're all able to come together. And Tambuwal his name has been around there.
Another person that also made, a declaration is former governor of Imo State, Rochester Okorocha, who's also stepped out. That's also generating a lot of conversation.
Oh, yes,
and,
yes.
For the street language, some people say, just remember 5 people.
It
just remember 5 people will never declare for president. But it just makes it very interesting.
That's interesting.
Now, for the PDP, you seem to have a lot of persons who have come out to declare their interest and they want to run for, the office of the president. And the question would now be, will the party elect you? Would you be the flag bearer of the party? Because now that from the fact that you are declaring your interest, you also have to look at the issue of internal politics and
Yes, indeed.
democracy.
Yes,
If
indeed.
the party will actually deem you fit,
Yes,
a
indeed. Yes,
candidate
indeed.
and all of
Yes,
that.
indeed.
So this is what's going on. But fingers crossed. So we also keeping fingers crossed and anticipating that you have more persons making declarations
But
wanting to become president.
yes, but indeed, it was it was another day. I mean, Rochas Okorocha is a seasoned politician. If you need to have followed him over the years to know that he has always nursed this ambition to be president. I think if I'm not mistaken, he grew up under the tutelage of one of a prominent politicians from the southeast. If I'm not mistaken, it should be Nnamdi Azikiwe. I need to check. But if you've been following Rochas from Nigeria's return to the early days of this republic, I think in 2003 or 2007, I'm sure in 2007, he was part of those who contested for the presidential ticket, I think of the PDP, if I'm not mistaken. But if I also am not mistaken, in 2003, he was out there for another party. I think he must be either ANPP, one of those PP parties that we had back in the day. So Rochas Okorocha he only stepped down a bit to go down to a lower level of ambition, which is the governorship. But he has been at least 2 times, if not once, twice, a candidate or an aspirant, and he's contested a party primary. I need to check, but it should be once or twice. All right. So I remember watching his speeches, back in the day, years ago, and say, this man is sounding like he like an American, So he's had that motivation. You can sense it, In his speech yesterday, because he advertised it on his social media platforms, he said he was going to stream it. His speech yesterday sounded like "I Have a Dream." Oh yes. His speech sounded like "I Have a Dream," Nigerian version. I mean, Senator Rochas Okorocha was. He said to say, "I'm not going to speak from any script. I'm speaking from my mind." That shows but
one
so
thing.
I was please.
Yeah. So one thing I know Rochas Okorocha for, that I've always known him. I mean, I haven't ever known him as a politician, but as a philanthropist, and that was when I was quite young.
Okay.
Watching
right.
the television, see documentaries of him, philanthropy work and all of that, doing a lot of charity work.
Philanthropy, you say. The hearts of Nigerians,
exactly.
Right? Okay.
So because if you want to talk about Rochas Okorocha, I mean, I would want to throw back to when I was still a teenager or thereabout, and then you begin to see that he did a lot of philanthropic works, and he was just all about giving people, helping, and the aged, and all of that. He did. He was just quite outstanding.
Yeah,
and then I said, "Who was this?" I kept on asking questions.
Who was this?
Then all of a sudden, there's a Rochas who's saying he wants to become president.
Yes,
there's a Rochas who
so remember those days of his presidential ambition, right? He made some interesting statements. For instance, he said that. What do you call it again? He said that he was poor. He was not poor. He's never been poor outside politics. He was wealthy before he became a politician.
True.
So he said. He also said that he's not a candidate of zoning. He said he's not a candidate of zoning. And if you can look at the speech he made, he said a lot of things about the unity of Nigeria. He's even said to have recited a verse of the Quran. Yes. I think he speaks Hausa.
Okay, so
yes, but he also said he's not in politics. I'm not in politics for what I can. I'm in politics rather for what I can give. In other words, he's not in politics for what he can get.
Because he said I think there's some part where he said he's richer than Imo State and
yes.
all of that.
He says they owe him, I think, 8 billion naira. Yes, they owe him 8 billion naira. The state owes him 8 billion naira. So that's what he said. But the thing is, his declaration held at about 1 p.m. If I'm not mistaken, that's when I actually swiped to see this. But then, at about 4 p.m., I saw another headline: EFCC charges Rochas Okorocha 2.9 billion, naira missing from state coffers, 17-count charge. I was like, what is going on? What is going on? So at night, I listened to him. I watched him, and he sounded really. Not too happy, And the 4 charges against him, he's denied them. He's saying that there's no proof. He's called on the judiciary to be firm. He said that they should not rush to take things like this. And I think, deep down he feels, unhappy that his day was scuttled.
Yeah,
And
everyone
he's,
actually feel like that, but it's okay if you have an invitation, you have to respect it, and I'm sure the law. Well, the issue with Skid Maker BU is the fact that he's been accused of having to ask some fans, I don't know if to put a word fans, for some sexual pleasure before. I really can't, put my hand on top of that story.
Okay, so this is some sort of apology for his past deeds of demanding sex from ladies to feature in his skits. I like Bayu. Bayu is in recent time one of the few comedians out there. I don't really watch all these things all the time, you understand. But since I came to Lagos, I've increased the hours I spend watching the skits. Bayu is one of the comedians on Instagram who has made me laugh like I almost fell on the ground. I mean, it's hilarious, really, really. So to hear that he's apologizing, or that there are allegations of him demanding sex for ladies to feature in his skits, I think that it's good he has come out to apologize. But the details of this, for me, would not lie in speculations. There were screenshots of him asking for sex from ladies to feature in his skits, which emerged online. Screenshots, And this is just probably a lesson to the young people, especially with the men, that, whatever you do online may always come back to haunt you. So you have to be careful and you have to do the right thing. So some of the ladies shared the screenshots of their conversations with him, especially the moments he asked and begged for inappropriate videos and photos. But Mercy, is this fair? A guy chats with you and is asking you, send me, we call it, or what do you call it? Sorry. Send me a picture of yourself and maybe a nudie and all that. And then...
And I feel like if you're actually attracted to a particular person sexually, it will be okay to, to have your conversations and get straight to the crux of the matter. So what's the idea of you, sharing pictures? Because for me, I always think, about the future. So I'm here, I'm thinking about the future and what happens in the future. What if I have some... Yes, I know that our society in Nigeria hasn't evolved, to that particular position where we...
Whilst this guy asked these ladies for screenshots, or he begged them for videos. Number one, they're saying he's begging them for videos. Can I have a screenshot? Can I? Online, send me something. Can I see? He may not see that as wrong. People do what you call sexting. If that is how they live their lives. If you save that, you say no, and you move on, and you save that, and then years down the line release it, say, oh, he asked me for nudies and all that. That's blackmail. Sorry? That's blackmail. It means that you have an evil intent. Because someone asked you, he asked you. It could be like maybe he said, okay, can we meet up and make up? You say no, and then you save it, and then one day you release it. What are you using it for? You want to disgrace him. It's blackmail. There must be a reason. Okay? But when there's sexual harassment, then of course that is not acceptable. We've seen what's happening with Mason Greenwood. Okay? We've seen what's happening with Mason Greenwood, and that of course has been condemned. But if it's just a request, and you say no, and you move on.
Okay, so if we're even going to get into...
Then you have, because I really do not like judging situations, especially, I told you, Sammy, or they said, oh, this woman, Mercy Aigbe. I'll be the last person to judge Mercy Aigbe, because I do not know the details, and I'm not there when they close their doors. People will jump on it and say, Mercy is a husband snatcher. Really?
So Kofi, let's even come to the fact that because we don't have time, right? And before I even got into this conversation, I said, this is what I think about it. It's my opinion and that's my stand. I don't indulge. I have been in a situation where a couple of persons would ask for it and I'm like, no, it doesn't make sense. I don't even fancy it. And that's me. That's me, and I can't judge everybody by that standard. But let's even bring it back to what we're talking about. The issue of saying, the reason that you're asking is so that you can actually engage them in your skit.
So that's the second part now.
That's where the question lies. Because most times
is not acceptable.
You find a lot of people. I mean, we talk about a lot of issues. For me, I say that there are so many Nigerians who don't have a moral justification to talk about issues, not to even call the president to some of the things that the president is not doing. Some of us should not even talk about a particular grade. That's also a big argument. I don't know if you understand. So that's already, is one on its own. And so we can't even be having, because some of these people are also agitating and pushing the cause, you can't do that, but they're doing differently. But Kofi, we need to go now. We need to go because
the practice of asking people who say, I want to feature in your skit or your comedy to give you sex before you allow them feature is wrong. That one is 100%. There's no debate about it. It's
the same thing. That's what I'm saying, that those who champion the cause against sex for grades might also in different other sphere of their lives where they are in control asking for the same thing, and it doesn't make sense. So it's a different thing if you have some consensual agreement with a lady, you approach and you guys get to a point where you have an understanding, and then you begin to get into that, because there would be an offer and there will be a take.
The circumstances for me, like I said, if he has asked these ladies to give him sex just to have a role in his skit.
And what if he didn't feature the ladies?
Yeah, excuse me, sorry, let me know. It's wrong. We shouldn't be seeing people get roles simply because it must be on merit. You understand? It must be on merit. And I think even in Nollywood, we've all condemned, or a lot of people have condemned that a director will ask you for sex, for he or she gives you a scene. It's wrong. It's wrong. So, but I'm not in support of taking someone's screenshot if he was having a conversation with you, just a casual conversation, and what they call sexting. You understand? And not demanding or asking, and you screenshot that and you put it out. I am against that. I'm against blackmail. You understand? But if it's about the asking, he asked and said, you must give me this before I give you a role. That's wrong. And I think it's good he has come out to apologize. And I think he needs not to do that again. And even champion a cause to speak against that and preach again. We have to go. We have to go. We have more coming up. Of course, we'll be speaking about the
through the noise and identify where the ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
Well, that's part of the problem.
Here and there. They need to be notified. There has to be a plan for payment. But when you don't talk to the brokers, when you don't talk to the insurance company, and you sit down in your house expecting, I've been paying all of this while, if I don't pay now,
even for a month,
even for
a day,
even for a day, because if your contract expires today, that's the expiration of it.
Space and Style, 6:30 p.m. on Saturdays and 5:30 p.m. on Wednesdays.
If it's all in trending in the entertainment industry, then we'll definitely be talking about it.
We bring you the funny, controversial, and hottest topics making waves in the entertainment scene worldwide.
We also interview all your favorite celebrities and keep you locked down with fun segments and live performances. Tea Time, showing every weekday at 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and of course the repeat at 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent.
On the button, send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and listen to the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
It's the breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Time for Off the Press. As always, we'll take you through the pages of our national dailies, and our focus would be on the big stories this morning. We have Chris Kende Nwandu, who joins the conversation. It's good to have you join us, Chris. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, and happy new month.
Happy New Month, Chris. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time being the ruling party. But let's see how things unfold for the APC. Efforts to reconcile aggrieved chieftains inconclusive. I beg your pardon. We will carefully study interim report of committee. That's also another rider there. National Assembly transmit reworked electoral bill to Buhari for assent. INEC raises security concerns and vows to disqualify erring parties. Away from that caption, you also have Balogun others withdraw suits and postpone Ibadan chieftaincy declaration review, also on the Guardian newspaper this morning. Terrorists kill 12 and raise homes in Katsina. And just before we move away, Amechi announces delay in rail project as China suspends funding. Customs immigration raises alarm as revenue loss threatens 17 trillion naira in the 2022 budget. That's it on the Guardian newspaper.
Let's breath with the Punch newspaper this morning, and we begin with the leading headline there. Still on the APC convention, like the Guardian had. APC February convention uncertain. Peace panel demands extension, and with the following riders. Petition still being submitted. We need 1 week more, says committee chair. Another rider, APC registers 41 million members. Governor rules out convention postponement. So we're going to see if that convention really hold. Can't wait for our guests' thought on that. At the top of the Punch newspaper, the following headlines. Malami to decide Electoral Act bill. Malami to decide Electoral Act bill. National Assembly transmits document to Buhari. 243 firms jostle for CBN's multi-billion naira loan scheme. Okorocha unveils presidential bid, knocks zoning, ex-governor charged with 2.9 billion naira fraud. As we called it, a roller coaster of a day for him yesterday. Still with the Punch newspaper, Senate projects 3 trillion naira revenue for agencies, customs faults finance bill. National Assembly threatens sanctions against MDAs over secret lopsided recruitment. National Assembly threatens sanctions against MDAs over secret lopsided recruitment. Let's go to the bottom of that front page. 98 suspected political thugs arrested by soldiers in Ekiti arraigned. That's quite a number, 98 suspected political thugs. Those probing touch Obasanjo's 2.420 hectare Benue farm. Gunmen rob beat firemen. Wow, those are the firemen who came to quench the fire, oh my, at that particular farm. It's really sad. Fear grips Ekiti community over influx of herdsmen, farms deserted. Human parts found with me for my ex-boss, promising 30 million naira reward driver. Okay. And finally, EFCC detains Medview airline boss for alleged $900,000 Hajj fraud. Those are the headlines coming from the Punch newspaper.
Away from the Punch newspaper this morning, let's look at the leadership. And on the leadership newspaper, civil society organizations, stakeholders give President Muhammadu Buhari 7 days to sign electoral bill. That's very bold and might just be dominating some of the papers this morning. Say INEC needs legal framework to issue 2023 elections guideline, and legislature has done its part, says Lawan. Northern youths warn governors and others. You remember Festus Okoye saying that internal mechanism of, the umpire, that's INEC, would actually allow INEC to go ahead with the guidelines, whether or not you have this bill being passed. Except, I didn't get him. NAS gives revenue agencies 3 trillion naira target for 2022 budget. Just almost the same with the, the plan to spend 3 trillion naira for subsidy, fuel subsidy. So I don't know what that means. Troops and police killed 28 terrorists and rescue 30 in Sokoto and Zamfara. That's what you find. CBN funds 28 cores with 23.2 billion naira under 100 for 100 policy. And away from that, Nigeria, United Kingdom hold first security dialogue. Forex scarcity threat to Nigeria's short-term growth. And just before we move away from the leadership newspaper, APC Reconciliation Committee submits interim report and asks for more time. So the issue of having the convention on the 26th of February is quite shaky, as has been described by the papers. But that's so much we can take on the leadership this morning.
Let's finally, we take the headlines from the Daily Trust. Sources: little to show in increased electricity supply, and investors overpaid. Poorly managed discos experts. This one I take personal, and because of what I had suffered under the Port Harcourt Electricity Distribution Company. And yesterday I saw that there was a story from Calabar where Cross Riverians were asking the government or authorities to do something about PHD, probably seize their license, as was done in another distribution company in Nigeria. It's quite sad because consumers, customers of these distribution companies are going through a lot. At the top of a Daily Trust front page, tariff dispute, NHIS brokers truce between healthcare providers, HMOs. Bandits kill 9 in Sokoto, Kaduna. Niger abduct 50 in Katsina village. Really sad. Senate gets 3 trillion naira target for revenue agencies. And let's check out the story at the bottom of that front page. How IPOB killed herder, shot Igbo man's 30 cows. That's sort of an irony. How IPOB killed herder, shot Igbo man's 30 cows. My animal's worth 30 million naira. Peter Onyado. Late herder spent 20 years working for Igbos, killing despicable Mieti Allah. And finally, National Assembly transmits reworked electoral bill to Buhari. NNPC seeks energy transition investments, targets low carbon economy, and APC chairmanship. Unity stability will be my bond, Senator Musa. And that's the last paper we have. Let's get into the think of things with our guest, Chris Kainde Nwandu, who's a chartered mediator and conciliator. Mr. Nwandu, good morning to you, and thanks for joining us once again.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. I described you last time as a tribalist Nigerian, of course, because of your name. So let's start with the story on the killing of a herdsman allegedly by IPOB members, and the discovery that those cows belong to an Igbo man. I mean, how does that work out?
It's quite unfortunate that such will happen because I don't know any reason why IPOB allegedly, because it's still within the realms of allegations. I don't know whether it was IPOB that actually did it or not. But let us even assume that it's IPOB members. It's quite unfortunate, whether it's a herdsman from any part of the country, or Igbo or Hausa or whatever. The killing of any person is regrettable and is condemned in its totality. Then moving further, they went ahead to kill 30 cows. That is the livelihood of somebody. And they went ahead to kill it. Let us even look at it from the point of the directive that allegedly came from them. They gave a time frame, quote and unquote, as to when cows from other parts of the country must not be seen within the Southeast. As we got into that, I think it's April or June or something. I can't remember the particular dates now. So why killing, slaughtering those cows, 30 cows? You know what that means? That is an investment by somebody. Practically triple the economic fortune of the person, the owner. And the person came out to be an Igbo man like you. So I wouldn't know the reason behind that. And I think it's that time our security agencies step up their net to be able to make sure that all those involved in that are arrested and brought to book. But it's quite unfortunate. The soul of the header, rest in peace, from the report, who said the guy has been living with them for over 20 years. So he's practically a part of that society, he's part of that community. So why would anybody want to go ahead? It's quite unfortunate where we find ourselves. But this, to me, is becoming very unbecoming if there's any language like that.
But it always comes as a surprise to some people that such cows could belong to an Igbo man. And that's the irony. I mean, how does that play out? Is this rare? Because the idea is that, these cows are for Fulani men, people from the north, and they're coming down south.
It's not only Fulani men. I'm from Imo State. And if you go to a place like Okigwe in Imo State, you realize that that community is noted for its cow selling of cows and beef meat and the rest of them. So there are Igbos and other parts of Nigerians, it's Igbos, and Igbos get involved in the. And if you go to the abattoirs in Igbo land, all the butchers are Igbo people. I've never seen an Hausa butcher in the whole of the Southeast. If you go to the market, the people that sell nama, as we call it, in the Southeast are Igbos. And they are the ones that also kill cows. I've never seen an Hausa man killing cow in my village, in Obo, where I come from. When you go to the market, you see the Igbo man. Just like even if you come to the Southwest or Lagos, where if you go to the abattoir, here in Egbeda, or what's that place where you have it's Yorubas that kill cows. You see that most of them, the owners of those cows, are also Yorubas. There are instances where you see them going as far as the north to buy those cows and bring them to the Southwest. So it's not only Northerners that those cows are real cows, but only that they are in the majority. But other Nigerians also get involved in the business of cow and cattle as it were.
Okay, so Chris Kende Nwandu, let's also look at the leadership newspaper this morning. The issue of the electoral bill is still dominating the pages of our dailies, and almost every day we still have the conversation. Now, NAS transmit the bill to the press.
Say, express their view concerning any issue. So the CSOs and stakeholders, as we mentioned, have the right to say or give a certain ultimatum. But what constitutional rights do they have to give such ultimatum? Is it within the Constitution? Is there anywhere in the Constitution that it says that they must give the president 7 days ultimatum to sign it? To me, that is not the line of thought for now. The fact is that we should get the president to sign that bill and do that as quickly as possible, because INEC in itself is waiting for that bill to be signed so that they can start preparing for the forthcoming election. A lot of things ensure within that bill, electronic transmission of results, and so many other things. So it's not just about the direct or indirect primaries that that's come to people have come to identify with that bill. There are so many other things. And INEC has said that except that bill is signed, that it may be difficult for it to be able to roll out its activities or plans for the 2023 election. Don't also forget that we have some staggered election coming up in the next few weeks or months in Ekiti and some other states. So the president should now have no reason not to sign, because he gave specific instruction as to why he didn't sign that bill. And I think that National Assembly have done the need. We're also reading that it has been sent to the president and also at the AGM. And we're looking forward that in the next few months, the president won't give Nigerians any reason not to sign that, because he has done that in the past. About 2 or 3 times, those bills were passed even before the 2029 election. I gave the reason that one of the reasons he gave was that it was too close to an election period. Now we have...
INEC needs the legal framework so they can issue the guidelines for the 2023 elections. And I remember sometime on this platform, we had Festus Okoye, who is actually the Commissioner of Voter Information or Voter Education spokesperson, and he said that the internal mechanisms, of the umpire could allow the umpire to go ahead to issue these guidelines, as well as falling back, to the previous act.
Yes, I've mentioned it. I just mentioned it. That was what I said. I said that this act needs to be signed into law so that INEC can start preparation for the 2023 election. I think that's how I captured my statement. And I think that once that is done, then the INEC has no other option or reason not to go ahead with the preparation for the 2023. They have to roll out timetable. They have to roll out modalities. There's going to be training. Don't forget, there are also going to be this various convention that's going on is part of the preparation towards the 2023 election. So the political parties have to have a time frame as to when to hold their convention, when to select their presidential candidates, governorship candidates, and various. So it's a very 2022. It's a very, very choked year already. We are in February today.
The question here is, without the president assenting to this bill, can INEC still go ahead with issuing the guidelines for the elections? They are already stipulated.
Of course, INEC can go. It doesn't have. There's nothing saying that INEC must stop. There's already there's a bill that was in place. INEC has this act. There's what is called the electoral act, or which the INEC has been operating even right from 1999 to 2015 to 20. INEC has an act, so it doesn't have to wait for the president. What is only saying that most of the modalities and some of the new innovations that you want to put into play, which will help future election, are already embedded and not well captured in those last act, the act they are using now, which is why they want the president. But if the president does not refuse to sign it, then what is it going to do? It doesn't mean that INEC will not conduct the election. Definitely, is passed to the president by the National Assembly. There is a time frame. I can't remember the number of days now. If that number of, I think it's about 30, 60, or I can't remember the number of days now. If those days lapse, then the National Assembly will record that bill and pass it with or without the consent of the president. So it's neither here nor there. If the president doesn't, they can override it and we'll move on. And it becomes law, whether the president signs it or not.
Mr. Nwandu, let's quickly, before we move on to the next headline, stay with this for a while. Look at the role of Abubakar Malami in all of this. For some people, they might be a bit apprehensive seeing the headline from the Punch newspaper, Malami to decide Electoral Act bill as National Assembly transmits document to Buhari. But it's not as bad as it seems, because he actually gives what we call a legal opinion on the bill. He did it with the first one that was transmitted to the president, and he wrote a letter advising President Buhari against signing the Electoral Act because of the controversial direct primaries clause. So what do you think of his role in all of this?
Malami's role is that of what the president thinks is his legal opinion. He's the Attorney General of the Federation. He's his adversary. The president doesn't have to take what Malami says. There is nowhere in the book where the president must take everything that is coming out from the office of the AGF. So if he advises the president and give reasoning why certain clauses or session within the past bill, the president should answer to, then the president also have to listen to him to a large extent, but he does not, he has no final say on that. The final person that can sign up on that. Don't forget, Malami is not the only person that advises the president. There are so many. The president has political advisors. He has other advisors who also are legal advisors, not just AGF. The presidency itself have legal advisors. So it's not just the AGF. So the AGF can only, we cannot be waiting on the AGF. He will do his role, he plays his role. And don't forget that to a large extent, the AGF is also a politician. That is why we have always said there should be a distinction between the office of the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice. Over and over again, we have said that those two offices should be separated, so that one will be manned by a strictly a politician, as the case may be, then the other by a professional. But when you merge the two together, politics come into play. The AGF has never, all the AGFs have never hated the fact that they are members of the ruling political parties, and that at times most of the advice they give tends to tie towards their political parties that they belong to. So, but as I said, is going to be advisory. He's going to advise the president on it, but the president doesn't have to wait for the AGF or take everything that the AGF says to be able to sign it or not.
Interesting. We hear this time, according to the Punch newspaper, still with that headline, that their sources are telling them, they are saying their sources are telling them that the president may also consult the Nigerian Communications Commission as regards to the issue of electronic transmission of votes. Are we not past that point at this time?
We are past that point, and I hope that is not going to be another way of delaying signing. Don't forget that, why is he consulting the NCC again? NCC were part of those that we are part of in the course of the bill, where the bill was tabled before the National Assembly. We went through the committee stage, and all stakeholders came to make their input. And NCC was one of the stakeholders, and they made their input, and they gave reason why they think that that should fly. Initially, don't forget that there was a time it was a bit political. They were trying to say, oh, no, there are certain areas that cannot be covered and the rest of them. And after some time, they came back again to say, no, we can do this. This electronic transmission of results is not as technical as some people make it to believe. It's just like your normal SMS. You can send SMS from wherever you're in part of this country. So I think we've gone past that, and the NCC have given its own power, or have made its own recommendation when it comes to that. And as far as I'm concerned, I think we've gone beyond that. The president doesn't need to consult NCC or whoever again. He was specific in what he wanted, and then what he stated in the last. Don't forget, he gave reasons, about 3 or 4 reasons why he feel that a portion of that bill should not be. He cannot sign it. Chiefly the area of the primaries of the political parties. And what's the point that he has no reason not to sign that into law again?
Okay, just as we quickly coasted down this morning on the paper review, let's quickly share your thoughts on this one. It's on the Guardian newspaper. By the way, Rotimi Amechi announces delay in rail project as China suspends funding. So it feels like, the rail project in Nigeria will probably just have to, be paused because China has actually suspended funding of this project.
That's what's happened. Who goes borrowing, go begging. So we went borrowing. We are within the space of any country that we decide, or any organization we decide. If they decide not to give us again, oh well. I don't know the reason. I've not read that story. I don't know the reason given by the minister for the suspension of. But I believe that there will always be bilateral agreements on issues like that. It's a contract, as we say in law. A contract is a contract. And if it's a valid contract, as also is saying, it's signed, sealed, and delivered as far as concerned. So that is a valid contract in law. So if you have an agreement and there's a valid contract signed with China as issue relating to those issue of those funds, then China has not shown that to. Except within the clause, there are certain things that in this is they've seen that, because one thing is to sign a contract, but if you breach that contract, then I, as a party to that contract, have a right to renege on the contract. So if there's areas that they feel that Nigeria has reneged on, and based on that, they are not releasing necessary funds that are supposed to be there, we should be able to sort that area.
But the concern is, should we be, as a country, borrowing to, finance critical infrastructure? I mean, let's just not even go by that particular story now. Should we be borrowing to finance critical infrastructure such as, the rail project?
There's no country in the world that doesn't borrow. United States of America borrow, United Kingdom borrow, Russia borrow, Germany borrow, all the countries of the world, South Africa, as good as the economy, borrow money. But what our own problem, my problem with that is that we will channel those money that we borrow into the right projects that we are used to, and that has always been. Most often than not to borrow and share the money, or they are embezzled and the rest of them. There's nothing wrong. One is to borrow. Another thing is also to channel is because when you borrow for capital projects, then you invest in that capital project, it's supposed to yield back the funds for you to pay back. That is how it is. That is the difference between Nigeria and other countries that borrow. They borrow. Go and see what Rwanda is doing. Go and see the level of infrastructure in Rwanda. Yes, they borrow to be able to repay. You see that most of the infrastructures are yield dividends and they'll be able to pay back. Go to Ghana also, see what they're doing. So, but our own is that we say we are borrowing. At the end of it all, if you don't borrow, no businessman, even Dangote, is the richest man in Africa. Messi, I will tell you that Dangote borrows money. If Dangote cannot run his company without borrowing. There's no company that runs without borrowing. The fact is that the money you are borrowing, are you utilizing it for the thing? But it does not necessarily mean that you must rely 100% on borrowing. We also have a way of generating income. We sell crude oil. Are we not making money from our crude oil? We're also talking about the sensitive other sectors of the economy, mining, agriculture, and so many other sectors where we think we can be able to make money and foreign exchange. Right. But we are not doing that. We depend solely on crude oil, and that's what the problem is.
All right. I think it's already on record that the federal government has said, this is a model, revenue model for the rail sector, and they have where the money is going to come from. So it will be interesting times to see if the issues with the loans can be sorted out, so Nigeria can really enjoy the rail services as well. Chris Kende Wando is a chartered mediator and conciliator. You've been an analyst this morning on Off the Press. I want to thank you very much for your time and hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much for having me. I do have a nice day ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Mercy, it's time to look at what happened. Today is the first day of February 2022. The year is running. Very fast. We have to look at what's happened today in history right here on Plus TV Africa. And when we return, we have more.
We'll definitely head straight to our major conversation. When we come through, we will be revealing all of that. Please stay with us.
Justice.
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in
100 naira they collect them. No talk, then go.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power, and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The lazy man does not rouse what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakari. Sundays, 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Is he counting us down?
Welcome back. So
I can't hear
on
him.
to the breakfast right here on Plus TV Africa. The Ekiti State PDP governorship primary election may have come and gone, but the controversies remain, Mercy. Indeed, both parties and both sides of the same party, rather, are still in difficulties, and of course the controversial issues, especially coming from Shegoni, who is the leading contender, who didn't win, those who came out and lost the primary election, and he's been singing and shouting and saying a lot of things regarding that convention. Well, the Ekiti State primaries may have come and gone, but the controversial issues remain. The defeated aspirant Chief Shegoni and the former state governor, Chief Shegoni, has accused the former governor, another former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, of selling out the party's candidates to the All Progressives Congress. Oni has also accused the PDP National Working Committee, led by Iyorchia Ayu, of hurriedly ratifying the outcome of the governorship primary election, which he alleged was conducted in a shoddy and abysmal manner. In his words, Bisi Kolawole is the APC's candidate duplicate copy. So he's calling the winner of that PDP primary, who was his opponent in the primary, the APC candidate's duplicate copy. However, Fayose's media aide, Larry Olayinka, has dismissed the allegations, saying Shegoni is basically on his own as far as the PDP is concerned. We'd like to find out what the future holds for the People's Democratic Party in Ekiti State. That's what we're out here for, to find out what the future holds for the People's Democratic Party in Ekiti State. We have joined us Yemi Olayinka, who is the chieftain of the People's Democratic Party in that state. Mr. Olayinka, good morning to you, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you, Nigerians. Thank you for having me.
Is Shegoni on his own as far as the PDP in Ekiti State is concerned, as said by the spokesman for Bisi Kolawole?
Yeah, well, Larry is free to, say whatever he likes. It's a free word. There is no limitation to anybody to say whatever he likes. But whether or not, time will tell. You know that in the state today, everybody knows and are aware that Engineer Shegoni is a candidate to beat. And if you say that Shegoni is on his own, okay, let's wait and see. Time will tell. But I can assure you, by the time they get results, they will know the scores.
When you say by the time they get the results, what do you mean, sir?
What I mean is that, there are other plans like on the ground, as I'm talking to you. There's so many plans going on within the camp. And I believe so strongly that, by the time we come out with our plans and what we tend to do, let us see whether it is possible for them to see Shegoni is on his own. But I can assure you that everything is on course.
The primaries have held. The People's Democratic Party national leadership has ratified the outcome of that primary. Every party has its internal rules and processes, and once the party ratifies it, that's done. So, isn't Shegoni already fighting a lost battle, lost cause?
Let me say this and make it clear to Nigerians. It's unfortunate we have laid a democratic setting on a bad footing in our country. And I pray that the younger ones will not meet this absurdity, this theater of absurdity that happens everywhere when it comes to primary and when it comes to election in Nigeria. It was a planned, well-orchestrated rigging that took place in Ekiti on the 26th of January at the primary, well-planned, supported by the national. It's unfortunate we find ourselves in this situation. It's unfortunate that Yosha, that will believe and do the right thing, is saying that that primary was okay. It's so unfortunate. But I'll tell you, they are all acting a script that I've been written. a script written in favor of the candidate of the APC. But Ekiti are wiser, Ekiti are smarter, and we're going to see exactly the reaction of Ekiti people when the election comes.
How is this a script, written in favor of the candidate of the APC? I mean, you have the entire. Are you saying the entire people? Okay, yes, go on, please.
Let me say something to you. There was a celebration at that night that because Segun lost, there was a party at the government house in Ekiti State. I don't want anybody to prove me wrong. They jubilated at the APC camp. They threw a party. They drank. They almost finished all the beers in all the beer parlors in Ado-Ekiti on that night. That yes, we are happy that Segun lost. The only person they know that they want to beat, that is there, that people love, the artisan, the civil servant, the teachers, everybody loves Segun, and they wanted him back. And we told them at the National, don't throw away PDP. Don't let this election go away. I think you should have more people that will be governors in PDP that can help you. And that's exactly what we told them. But they refused. So they planned it. In fact, if you look at what happened at the primary, you'll be shocked. I'm sure you must have seen some of the footages and all that, I mean, how can they be voting and they'll be showing to a particular candidate? And they'll vote unless they show it to another candidate before they move. And the chairman of the electoral committee was there looking at everybody. And if anybody says anything, he will fight you. He will ask the police to remove you from the hall. So that's why I said it was a well-planned, orchestrated move by the APC, by the PDP to favor the APC. And that night, apart from the fact that they threw a party, Ayodele Fauci was at the State House, was with Fayemi. They were there together that night, drinking. That yes, we won the battle. We finished Segun, but let us see who the people want. It's just a matter of time.
So another issue that was raised is the issue of result sheets given to electoral officers, the night before the primary elections. Can you, help us describe and tell us how that happened?
That wasn't in PDP. That's the issue of the APC. That they are the one that has this issue of the distribution of electoral material the night before. As we didn't have the kind of primary they had. They had the direct primary at the APC. We had an indirect primary. It's a delegate election. So we were all there. So it wasn't us that complained of that. It was the APC, and I cannot speak for the APC. I can only talk about the PDP thing.
So, but another issue again is the fact that Governor Fayose has been accused of betraying, the People's Democratic Party. Can you also tell us what that means, or what kind of betrayal we're looking at now?
You can tell Nigerians, Fayose is a trader. He can trade anybody off. As long as money comes, that's the kind of person he is. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. Someone told me that he actually mentioned to that, in as much as you know that Segun is the best candidate, why don't you allow your candidate to support Segun so that you can win the election? He said he doesn't care. He must satisfy his own conscience. That is absurd. That is evil to the party you believe that you have a strong support for. How can you say that? It shows that someone that doesn't care, as long as you're able to fulfill, satisfy yourself, and you don't care what happens to the party.